So we're going to talk about building your sequence. There's two ways to start a new sequence. You can go up to Timeline, New, and then Sequence. It'll ask you which bin you want to put your sequence in. You click on the bin for organizing your sequence, and then you'll see a new sequence opens up over here in your bin. And you're always going to want to label that. And if you look down here in your timeline, you'll see that you have the start of a sequence, a video track and 2 audio tracks. That's usually the default. And you can change that if you choose, but usually it's a video track and 2 audio tracks. Okay? Another way to begin a sequence, I'm going to clear my monitor here, is to take some raw footage. For example, say I wanted to start with this clip right here. We'll just do a mark in and mark out. And you can just click and drag it down to the timeline. It will also start a new sequence. You can see it over here. And you can see a video track and 2 blank audio tracks because there's no audio associated with this clip. So 2 ways to create a new sequence. If you choose, you can either just start editing and it'll create a sequence right out of the gate, or timeline, new, and new sequence. The next thing I'd like to go over is actually starting to assemble or patch things in your sequence. So I'm going to call up, let's see, we'll call this up right here. This is the part that gets confusing for a lot of people. On the right hand side over here is my sequence audio tracks. So this right here represents everything, all the tracks that are in my record sequence or my record monitor. So right now I have 3 video tracks, 5 audio tracks. On this side, I have 1 video track. This represents what's in my source monitor. So when I need to edit on a certain track, you need to patch it. And there's a few ways that you can patch. So say I wanted to edit, say a title onto video track 2. My video track 1 over here is right now aligned with video track 1 on my sequence side. I need to click, draw an arrow up to video 2, and now I have patched video 1 to video 2. And I can now edit on this track up here. But if you notice, my audio tracks are still on. So this can be a problem. If I go ahead and make an edit, say I want to edit this in right here. If I go ahead and make an edit and I overwrite that in, you'll see my edit went in, but my audio disappeared. That's because whenever tracks are highlighted, AVID thinks that you want to edit on those tracks. So I'm going to undo that and make sure I turn all of my audio tracks off. This now allows me to just edit video on video track 2. Okay? It's really important that you understand patching. Let's call up let's see, I'm trying to find something with a cut of music in it. Let's see, there we go, music and commentary. So say right here, now you see I loaded up a cut of music or a cut of audio. Okay? So if you look in my source side, I have 2 tracks of audio. So I will want to edit this, say if I want to edit it on tracks 5 and 6. I will create a new audio track by right-clicking on my timeline, going to New, Audio Track Mono, and now I have a new audio track. In order to edit this clip of audio onto audio tracks 5 and 6, I need to patch them down. Okay? Now I turn my video track 2 off and I am ready to edit on this track. So you can manually patch, and then you can also, so I'm just going to patch these back up here. You can manually patch and you can also automatically patch. So say I want to patch on 5 and 6, but my audio tracks are up here on 1 and 2. I can turn 1 and 2 off and it'll instantly jump to the tracks that I have highlighted. Okay? So that is audio patching. You can also, so 2 ways to patch your audio. One thing that I want you guys to get used to is using the waveform monitors. Okay, so if you look in my timeline, I have my waveforms on. Okay, it shows the audio. The straight lines show a break in the audio, and these show just um, the loudness of the audio, or the increase of the level. So if I play this right here, you can see how it changes. Pause right here. Okay, it's a great way to kind of look for the start and end of audio clips. All right. So to get into my audio waveform monitor, you're going to want to click on the track control panel. This is a little button right here. Okay, it reveals all of these buttons, and you can see as I click on these, you can turn on your waveform monitor by just clicking on this little button right here. Okay, it's important to get in the habit of doing that because you're going to want to start to see your audio in your audio tracks. All right, if you have them off, all right, it makes it a lot more difficult to do any audio editing, because what you have to do is you kind of have to guess. But when you put a visual with it, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, so say I wanted to edit out this clip right here where there is no talking. Okay, if I had that off, it'd make it a lot more difficult. Okay, but if you turn it on, you can easily mark in and mark out and get rid of that clip. So let's do that. Okay, so how do you remove things from the timeline? To remove things from the timeline, say I wanted to get rid of this dead space right here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark in, and then I'm going to mark out around the section I want to get rid of. Notice my audio tracks are down here, or highlighted down on 5 and 6. I'm going to turn those off and only highlight audio track 1, because this is what I want to get rid of. Two ways that you can do this. You can use the lift button. So by hitting the lift button, it leaves a hole. Okay, so now when I play it, I have a nice little tight cut. The other way that you can remove pieces of your track is by hitting the extract button. The difference between the lift and the extract is this. When I use the lift button, it leaves a hole. Okay? If I use the extract button, it leaves a hole, then fills it up. Okay, so it shifts everything down to the left. Okay, so that's great, but look what happened to my timeline. Okay, now it's all cut, and things can be out of sync. I lost some of my music, so it's important that you pay attention to your sync. So these little hashtags right here that I'm showing you are called sync locks. Okay, so what that does is that allows you to, it ties everything together so you don't lose sync. Okay, so if I was to turn all of these off, say I turn all these off right here, and I hit my extract button, okay, you can see how my timeline has now shifted. If you look over here, you'll see this 40. This 40 means that I am now 40 frames, runner 2, I'm 40 frames out of sync with this audio. Okay, so when this plays, okay, everything is going to sound all whacked out. All right, it's going to look like his voice does not match his picture. His audio doesn't match his picture. So that means he's out of sync. You don't want things out of sync. So by clicking on the sync lock buttons, that will help you avoid having things out of sync. So if I do hit the extract, it moves everything down. But what it also does is it removes audio. Okay, so now I have a cut of music out there, and now I have a jump cut in my music. Okay, you may not hear it, but it's there, and it's something you do not want. So this would be a good use of the button, the lift button. Okay, so make sure you understand the difference between lift and extract. Lift leaves a hole. Extract leaves a hole, but then shifts everything. Okay, very similar to the splice button. The sync tracks right here allow you to keep things in sync, okay, but you have to kind of be careful and make sure you are getting rid of everything that you want to get rid of. Okay, so Waveform monitors, make sure they're always on. All right, and that is a great way to keep things in sync. Let's see. So overwrite and splice button. Okay, everybody knows what the overwrite button is. We've been using that a lot. So I'm just going to call up a clip right here. Okay, and again, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not really putting any thought into what I'm editing. But say I want to insert this clip. Okay, I want half of the clip to be the desert, the second half to be this cool looking shot right here with the sun. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mark in here. I like that spot. All right, and then I'm going to do a mark in here and go right up to the woman. All right. Now, a couple of things that I want to point out is that we should get in the habit of snapping the video tracks. Okay, so if you notice, when I'm on video track 1, and this is the track I'm going to highlight, all right, I can actually snap to my cuts, all right, by hitting the rewind or fast forward button. So you see how that goes to the first frame of every cut. Okay, I see a lot of people who try to, they try to get it in there and try to match it up the best they can. And sometimes they hit it and sometimes they don't. But by snapping, okay, that will allow you to be really precise with your edits, and then use your single frame advance to really make sure you're at the proper tail or head frame. That is what this is down here. This is a tail frame, okay, kind of a L on its back, and then it's the last frame of a clip, and then if you go to this frame, this is a head frame. Again, it's a kind of reversed L on its back, and you see this is the first frame of the next clip. So what you want to do is 3-point editing. You never want any more than 3 mark-ins and out on your screen at the same time. It's always 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, and 3. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to overwrite this in. By overwriting it in, it allows me to erase the sand dunes and replace it with the sun. Okay? That looks all right. Watch what happens if I splice something in. Okay? So say I want to keep the sand dunes, but I want to splice in the sun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to splice this in, and notice how it inserts the clip in and leaves a space. Okay? So you could actually fill that with audio or music, but you can see the difference between splicing and overwriting. Okay? Again, with my sync locks on, it shows that everything is in sync. The last thing I got to show you is the center duration button. Up here, you'll see your time code for your source monitor, your time code for your record monitor. The center duration button right here shows whatever side you're clicked on, what the duration is between your mark in and mark out. So right now I'm clicked on my record monitor. So right now I have 1 second and 20 frames from mark in to mark out. On this side, I have 1 second and 19 frames from mark in to mark out. So it's a great way to kind of know how long a certain section is. So for example, this entire sequence is 50 seconds. That's all I have for Lesson 3. See you in Lesson 4. Leon out.